I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-Minute Convos, where I help you create a brand of your own unique real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good morning, Mark Leruste. How are you doing on this wonderful, beautiful morning?
Good morning, Angel, and good morning. It's snowing here in London.
Wow, ouchie. Hey, well, I do have that email there. That's in the draft inbox. We can always send that your way. It's filled with Caribbean sunshine. If you need it, let me know, all right?
Please send it by the bucket load.
Well, Mark, do tell us which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this time.
Well, I'm going to take a wild guess and say that it's my ability to talk about sometimes more vulnerable and serious conversations in a more light and fun kind of way.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Tell us about the podcast, please, where you do this. I loved it. I love the conversations you're having there.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so the podcast I host is called The Unconventionalists, and I basically interview people who you might have heard of, people you might have never heard of. But what we do is that we dive deeper into the story behind how they got there, and we focus predominantly on the emotional side of the journey, not just the kind of the step-by-step process that they got them there, but rather the things that they're not used to speaking up out loud.
You know, the mic is such of a powerful tool. I think it's like a sword sometimes because the individual has, as the host, two jobs, right? To ask the question that he's dying to ask, and then to ask the question that he knows his audience is dying to ask, right?
Yeah.
Who did you learn the skill of asking the right questions from?
Yeah, so, my first job, I was a glorified salesman hidden under the title of commercial journalist. So by the time I was 24, I'd interviewed 154 people who were predominantly ministers of countries, top government officials, CEOs, chairmen. So these were very high-powered, high-profile women and men. And that's how I got my feet wet. And then after that, I decided to go back to interviewing people. And the more I was interviewing people, the more I realized there's always this one question. I don't know if you've had this, but there's a question you always have in the back of your mind and that you're hesitating to ask because you think it's maybe too intrusive, maybe it's a bit rude, maybe it's a bit too much, maybe they're not ready. And every single time I've asked that question, it's delivered the single best answers of the entire interview. So I guess over the years, and I'm now maybe 200 plus people I've interviewed, nothing of your numbers, let's put that straight out there, but you sort of an hour conversation, 45-minute conversation, you start learning a few things about kind of that whole thing that you spoke about. How do you keep the overall arc of what the audience wants, and how do you go deep into what you want to hear too?
Yeah, most definitely. Well, given the fact that you've done this a couple of times well, and again for more lengthy periods than I have, why will you continue to repeat this skill, Mark?
I love it. I often say this, like, would I do it if nobody else listened to the show? And the answer is yes. And as long as the answer is yes, I'll keep doing it. I'm just fascinated at how sometimes I'll have a guest, and within the first few minutes, I'm thinking, did I make the right choice of interviewing this guest on the show? Is this going to be am I going to learn something? Is my audience going to learn something? And I'm always amazed at how wrong I am to even doubt that, a single person could not have a fascinating story or a fascinating point to teach. And the more I do this, and the more I learn, the more I grow, the more I give. So yeah, I'll keep doing it.
Love it. Where's the best place for someone to connect with you, follow your path?
These days, I'm quite a lot on Instagram. Although I'll say this, the channel I'm kind of focusing most of my energy on is YouTube. That's kind of where I'm releasing content the most these days.
All right. And to get to there, we search your name and we'll find you?
So you type my name, Mark, M-A-R-K, Leruste, L-E-R-U-S-T-E, and you'll find me pretty much on all the social media platforms.
Wonderful. Well, Mark, do tell us one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years, please.
Laugh, actually. Laugh. Just like I have to remind myself not to take myself too seriously. Yeah. I think especially when you're in this online business world of trying to raise your profile and trying to create something meaningful, and it can get really, really heady. and you can get really caught up in the details and the particles. So I think the one thing I've consistently done probably, I was trying to think of like something small like daily meditation and journaling and gratitude, and no, it's actually just laughing, just
Love it.
yeah, that's it.
How does that make you feel laughing so often?
Yeah, I think it's the one thing that diffuses everything else. I think come to think about it, as I say to you now, I think that's one of the things I bring to the table when I deliver a workshop or give a talk at a company. I bring humor, and I think that is sometimes really disarming for a lot of people. So I love it.
Suggest to someone that's listening why they should do that as well. Not necessarily laugh, but at least find the one thing that's simple that definitely resonates with them, that brings that joy.
Yeah, I agree. I think it comes back down to the chief FBI former negotiator who used to say, always name what's in the space that the other person is probably already thinking. And comedians and stand-up comedians do this very, very well. So a tip for people listening, if you're not consider yourself a funny guy or a funny girl, you don't necessarily to be funny, but do name what's in the space, and you'll be surprised at the laughs you'll get and how much connection you'll get out of it.
Amazing audience. You're hearing it live here from Mark Leruste. Again, he is the podcast host of The Unconventionalists. Do check that out. Amazing conversations going on there. Mark, let's switch gears for a moment now. Let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Mark, what is your earliest childhood memory?
My earliest childhood memory is probably playing around at my grandparents' country house in France. And there was something about, we were always used to like build stuff out of nothing and create little worlds with like toy soldiers and rivers and stones and stuff like that. And just playing there with my dad and my brother. I think that's probably one of my earliest memories.
That's intriguing. How old do you think you were in that memory?
I reckon 5.
All right.
Probably around 5.
How do you see that memory connecting to who you are today?
I think it's about being playful, about staying connected, and making time for those who matter.
Can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind? Oh, yeah. One word. Unconventional.
I should use that as a name.
All right, there we go. What you could do is to make it yours. You could put S on the end, right? So
yeah.
Great idea, right? And it's really fascinating that at that particular age you were using what would have seemed unconventional to others to create, to build upon. And I'm sure that you would have seen that thread throughout your conversations where it was something that was simple that an individual did that was the trigger, if you would, to accelerate every other aspect of their life. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. There's something around. So I gave a TEDx talk, and I talk about this, and it's this idea that I think we make things way too complicated, and I think it's much more simpler than that. And I think what you speak to is that there's a simplicity, which is, what if you made your purpose or your quest, but even to call it small and tangible, and go after it. And I think that's what every single guest I've had on the show, whether they've had an aha moment or a trigger or a switch, they've all kind of ended up accidentally or pursued something intentionally. But the difference is that they just made it small and gone on with it.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to just play with the idea, I would say, how would laughing every day for the next 3 months affect your destiny? Right? And as simple as that is, hey, let's see what happens, right?
100%. Yeah, find something that makes you smile each day. Do that for the next 90 days, and your life will be changed.
Your
100%.
life will be changed, most definitely. If we fast forwarded to when you were 12, what was your favorite song?
12 years old. Oh, my days. Yeah, that must have been... it was definitely either Queen or a Michael Jackson song, because those are the songs that were constantly being played in the car.
Right.
And we used to drive it up. My mum used to take my brother and I quite a lot to see her family up in England, and we used to live in France, so that was a bit of a trip. What would it have to be? Let's go for Michael Jackson.
Right.
Black or White.
Oh, there we go. Well, my friend, being an unconventionalist, you've definitely found that there's a line between either it's black or it's white, right?
I think there's so many different shades of black and white. That's what I love about being unconventionalist.
Love
it.
Well, Mark, we've arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there is a small declaration form. So it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready, Mark?
I am.
Mark, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Yeah, my daughter. I've had a baby girl who's 10 weeks old.
Wow, congratulations. Wow, what's her name?
Sophie.
Oh, there we go. Hi, Sophie. You're going to hear this at some point in time. Well, are you married?
No, we're not.
All right.
We live together, but we're not married.
All right, so there's Sophie. Do you believe in God?
I don't believe in a God. I believe in the concept of a higher force or something looking out for us. And I think I consider myself more of a spiritual than a religious man.
And do you have an inner circle of friends?
Yes, I do.
And do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
No.
How about 3 hours a week?
Yes.
What about screen time, the phone and the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Definitely more.
Yeah, I think statistically, at least, I'll have to run it, right? But I think like 70% of the time I don't get to the end of that question without a reaction.
Yeah, 100%.
If you, Mark, had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents Mark Leruste, what would you say that is?
Probably that, ultimately it all comes down that we all want to be seen, heard, and loved. And the good news is that you are loved, you have love, and you do love.
Love it. It's beautiful. Mark, this has been a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Well, I guess depending on when this comes out, I just wanted to say that I'm really excited that I'm launching an Impact Accelerator for 8 weeks where I'm going to be mentoring people. So I'm excited about that. And the other thing is, beyond like any promotional or plugging in my own stuff, anybody listening to this, I just want to point out that, Angela, you reached out to me via LinkedIn and you had a quest, which was to interview and get as many episodes as you could by a certain date with a specific number. And I don't really respond to people on LinkedIn, but I responded to you because you had a clear quest and it got me excited. So if you can find something that excites you, you will enroll other people to come and help and support you. And you're the perfect example. So I just want to point that out to the audience in case they're listening in episode 999 and they forgot.
Well, just to add to what Mark just said there, and to add to his last name, just like the rooster gets excited and goes, cock-a-doodle-doo. So you too should be excited. Mark, this has been a great pleasure, my friend. Thank you for being on what is inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.